All right, I'd like to welcome you to this new series that I'm going to be doing on Ranger School. I have a series on war games, and that's seen at Council of Zeus 2. But I thought I should go ahead and do these series of Ranger videos based on my experiences in Ranger School in 1987 and how it affected my military career. Just a little bit about me. In 1976, I joined the Army, and I was in the Army from 1976 to 1979. Did a fair bit of training and experienced some things there. We'll talk about that at another time. And then I spent 17 years in the Marines. I served as a Marine security guard at some point. I've been a recruiter. My last tour in the Marines, I was a recruiter. We'll talk about that as well. If you're thinking about joining the Marines, for example. But the main thing that we are really want to focus on, something I really want to focus on, is Ranger School in 1987. That's when I went. So I'm going to be showing you some documentation of when I went to Ranger School and getting my Ranger tab, of course. So because there's an issue about false valor, and so that's dishonorable. And so we want to make sure I am who I say I am. I'll be putting elements of my military record up so you can look at it. I'll just take my social security number out of it, and you can see. So I just want to right now talk about, just kind of dispel any kind of false expectations or higher expectations about who I am. So there are many Rangers, Special Forces types that are on the internet, and those people are far more capable than me. So Jocko, you have guys from Delta Force, Green Berets. I love those, watching those videos. Sean Ryan, he's another one. He interviews people from the Special Forces community, and I really like those. Okay, I'm never going to be on Sean Ryan or Jocko. Okay, they're not going to interview me because I don't have the combat experience. Okay, that's not me. All right, so I've been through airborne school, Pathfinder school, the Marine Corps Mountain Leadership School, which is like which is very, very tough. I've been through a lot of tough training in the Marines, and some in the Army as well. But I am not these guys, so I'm not the Delta Force and the Green Berets or the Navy SEALs. So know those people, but that's not me. So let's just get this out there. So I started in 5-86 in Ranger School, and I graduated in 6-86. What does that mean? Okay, that means I got recycled in Florida. All right. Now, one thing I want to say about Ranger School. So I'll plan more of this out on my talk. This is just an introduction. So one thing I want to say about Ranger School. Ranger School used to be out at in Utah, in Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah. I went out to Dugway Proving Grounds. That's the difference. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying that Ranger School was different in 1987. Now I'm watching Ranger School now on YouTube videos and about what Rangers say about Ranger training and RASP, and I'm trying to pick out what are the differences. I still see the worm pits, if that's what you still call them. I still see that. Almost all those videos start out with somebody jumping, face first into the worm pit. Good for them. That's nice. And now there's women have graduated from Ranger School. I'll comment on that. And just a little thing on that, back in 1976 when I was in the Army, when I first joined the Army, they ran surveys and questionnaires to the soldiers in 76 about women in combat, women in infantry, women in the combat arms. So I have some experience on the decision made to eventually have women serve in combat units. And I never thought a woman would go through Ranger School, but They have, and we'll talk about that. What's the other thing I want to say about Ranger? So also now they have RASP. That's different. When I didn't even know what the Rangers were. Okay, in 1976, in August of 1976, I joined the Army. I was 20 years old, and I went to didn't know what to do in the Army. To the recruiter, and I became a ground surveillance radar crewman. And so I went to 6 weeks of basic training. We'll talk about that on another video. Things I liked about it. Some of that training, overall the training was pretty good. I went from there to the U.S. Army Intelligence Center and School in Fort Huachuca, Arizona for my training in radar. Great school. I mean, the Army knows how to put on great training. They just do. I have been to many Army schools while I was in the Marines. I went to more Army schools in the Marines than I went when I was in the Army. Of course, I was only in the Army for 3 years. So then I got out of the Army. And by the way, let me back up a little bit. When I was in the Army, I went to the famous Recondo School that started in Vietnam. I'll talk about that on another video, and I have the documentation to prove that. So all the documentation. So let me just say one thing about that, about false valor, okay? There's a lot of it out there. I've seen it, and so I want to make sure that I give you the proof that that's not me. I already told you I'm not. So let's talk about my combat experience, all right? I was in Iraq for 6 weeks during the first war in Operation Provide Comfort. What a name for an operation. Operation Provide Comfort. I got the coin, and I'll show you proof of that on another video. I got the paper. In any event, what a name. Operation Provide Comfort. Don't you wish you were part of that? Not Operation Bold Thunder or Massive Attack. Nothing like that. Provide Comfort. Desert Storm. That's when Operation Provide Comfort happened. April 19th is when the 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit moved to northern Iraq. Actually, you moved to southern Turkey and then northern Iraq. But really, that's when it took place. So I was there for 6 weeks. That counted as a combat tour. Don't have to pay taxes, combat pay, the whole works. I didn't shoot anybody. I carried a 9mm Beretta. Barely wore body armor. I even left the compound to go to one of our little camps half a mile away, and I didn't wear body armor to that either. So could you get killed? And yeah, you can get killed up there, and we had a few people get killed. One guy got killed through friendly fire. There was the paratrooper from the 3rd of the 325th, stepped on a landmine and was killed. And that happened while I was there. I saw the traffic come into the command center, and then there was a special forces soldier that was also killed up in those hills near where I was at. That said, and it was a dangerous place. All right, walking around, you can get killed. Step on a mine, basically. But that said, that's the limit of my combat experience. Yeah, if you want to talk about the combat operations that I helped plan, I don't believe we ever, to my knowledge, we never executed any of those plans. They were fire support plans. What else? We'll talk more about, okay, so I went to Ranger School because I was in Anglico, 2nd Anglico at the time, and we'll talk more about that on another date. And then the last thing I want to say is the amount of jumps I made, okay, in airborne school, and who I was exposed to in the time I was with 2nd Anglico. And that included Force Recon, Rangers, the 82nd Airborne, and the Navy SEALs. So exposed to all these communities, and they operated with the Marines. Last thing I want to talk about is the amount of parachuting I did in the Marines. So if you count the tower at Fort Benning, Georgia, not everybody goes off of it. I did. If the winds are right, you can go off the tower, got hauled up, dropped from 250 feet. I'm counting that as one of the jumps. Okay, if you count that, I made 28 jumps. Okay, 26 of them were from military aircraft. One was about 3 years before I even thought about jumping out of an airplane. That was at a parachute club at Camp Pendleton, California, and that was from 3,000 feet. It was a gunnery sergeant was the head of the club, and I will show you that certificate just to show you that I did in fact make the jump. It's just one jump, so add all that up, and you have a total of 28 jumps. That's me, and I was with Anglico for 2 years. So that many jumps, but I know guys out there that made 100 jumps with the 82nd Airborne, or if you're with Special Forces, maybe 1,000 jumps. So just want to make sure we're matching those expectations. That said, the things that Jocko and Sean Ryan and some of the other Special Forces people talk about their the way they train, I can totally relate to that because I did it. I did those things, and the mindset that goes behind being a soldier or a Marine that is considered elite. I also can relate to that because that was what was drilled into my psyche, my head as well. So anyway, that's about all I want to talk about for today, and I thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.